Hello everyone, this is Paige. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm glad to have this opportunity to celebrate the launch of Filecoin Anniversary Orbit event. In the last year, we have experienced lots of memorable moments. Starting from one block in San Francisco, Falcon rapidly grew from one node in California to more than 3 nodes globally. Since last year, we see global players in Asia, in North America, in Europe, with capacity at EB volume. We also see lots of ecosystem projects growing fast. For example, decentralized finance storage, retrieval storage, indexing cash service, CDN service, and lots of other ecosystem projects working together. Now we're at the next page of Falcon as a Web3 infrastructure. Here in Montreal, Canada, where is a key player of the film and gaming industry. We have the famous 3D engine development company like Autodesk, 3D Max, Maya, and also the origin of the 3D film, Avatar. Those are the best technology and the scenario which we believe can create the new metaverse. But the matter with the existing Web3 infrastructure is not enough. We want a decentralized, unified system to enable anyone at any place to join the metaverse. Today, we are so honored to have Stefaan and lots of ecosystem project leads to working together to reveal the next stage of metaverse. For the event, we are going to have opening remarks by Stefaan and the storage case study at 8:45, speech at 9:20, ecosystem at 9:40, and a final discussion at 10:20. Okay, let's congrats on Filecoin Mainnet launch anniversary. Okay, let's welcome Stefaan to give us an opening statement.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for having me today. This is fantastic. First of all, congratulations to all of you for participating and being visionaries with us, not just last year, but even the years beforehand. As we all, everyone who is here or everyone who's listening, are basically all visionaries, because if you look at what we're doing, how different we are versus what mainstream is doing, and what great ideas we are moving forward and actually building out on our platform, it's just incredible. We actually have become real explorers of the Web3 world, and we're building it together. So it's fantastic. Definitely after a year, all of us have seen extreme fast linear growth when it comes to new storage providers coming online, and an exponential growth when it comes to capacity and a geo-distributed environment where more storage providers came online from east to west to now the rest of the world. It is fantastic to see how we have built not just this community, but a secure network across the world that truly is enabled and is moving in the right direction, moving in the same direction, and has the same goal, which is building a network that really helps us store humanity's data, but also gives more control back to the end users, the creators, the visionaries that we are. So today, as you've seen, we've grown exponential. That's fantastic. And I think we've reached a point right now where not only in the last year have we seen a moment where Falcon was growing so fast that it helped contribute to shortage in HDDs, that also the old archaic hardware companies took notice, but we've also we're in a point right now where we actually are seeing a ton more customers coming on board and actually storing data, which is fantastic. So in the last couple of quarters, what have we done? We've invested a lot in the ecosystem. We have now more than 250 applications building on Falcon, 500 plus teams entering the ecosystem, and 10,000 plus developers that are engaged through hackathons. We are running 30 hackathons a quarter, which is fantastic, and more than 7,500 contributors on GitHub. I would say that that's even higher now, actually, if I would look at the numbers. But more importantly, we have a tremendous adoption, and FilSwan is one of them. So thank you very much for everything that you've done in the last year, and also what you've been working on. And I'm excited to see what's coming today in this session. And so then the question is, where are we going in the next 4 years? Obviously, so much is ahead of us, but as you can see, there's still so much data to be captured, so many use cases to go after, as we only store 7% today in 2021. And as you can see, the data growth is faster than we can possibly store. So Filecoin is going to make a dent and help with that. Now, last but not least, where are we heading when it comes to, in my opinion, building out the Filecoin network? We're not just building decentralized storage, but we're building the foundation for a decentralized data center that can build the infrastructure for all these applications, all these decentralized use cases that we just talked about in the beginning. And really, it starts with the data itself. It starts where the data is essentially the the oil of today. We're living in a world where your digital footprint is sometimes worth more than your actual currency assets. So this is where Falcon plays a huge role and can help build out that infrastructure for those new use cases.
Is one of the co-founders of IPS Filecoin and came from Shanghai,
and
China.
So and as a more importantly, what I would recommend is that this is just a beginning. This is just a starting point, and as we look forward, we hope that everyone can look with us and help build those new use cases of the future. So with that, have a good panel session, a good meeting today. And thanks everyone again for all your continuous support. I'm looking forward to see what comes out of it. And we'll pass it on.
Okay, I'm gonna introduce to Nancy. She will be our host today.
Thank you, Peiqi. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy, one of the co-founders of IPFS News. I came from Shanghai, China. It's a great honor for me to be the host for this event. I'd like to thank FilSwan for inviting me. IPFS News has been covering the IPFS world since Filecoin testnet was opened to the public on February 14th, 2019. And we have been fortunate I have been fortunate enough to witness the entire journey of Filecoin from testnet to mainnet. We are proud of our patience and courage, and will continue to pay close attention to the development of the ecosystem. Now, let's welcome today's first speaker, founder of FilSwan, Charles Tao. Charles Tao previously employed in IBM, Autodesk, NVIDIA, Filecoin ambassador, Minor X fellow, Filecoin community champion, data retrieval market builder. Currently leading a 20 members team works on building an edge computing storage network on Filecoin. Charles Tao built the largest Filecoin storage provider in North America with 2 data centers, over 20 PM storage capacity. Charles Tao today is entitled Road to the Future, Web3 and Metaverse. Now, let's welcome the founder of FilSwan, Charles Tao.
Hi everyone, and it's really happy to see you guys here and join us with this great event. So today my topic is about Road to the Future, the Web3 and the Metaverse. So for now, the Metaverse is really the topic of the day. We have lots of people talking about the Metaverse. We know that Facebook is recently joining in this conception. We know that Tencent in China, that's also some companies go public with the Metaverse. So the question comes to us what is Metaverse and how it looks like. So actually we really familiar with that. So the most interesting thing recently have is the 3D game, the Half-Life Alyx. It's in order to play it, you need to wear VR equipment. So you will have the feeling about using the gun and the touch screen. You can even writing using a virtual pen writing on the board, and you can touch lots of weapons, and you can remotely control it. So it gives you like a really like real environment where real game, sometimes you forget you are in a game. And then we come to the interesting movie, The Real Player One. And this is one of the most interesting movies I have ever been seeing. It also has similar to the Cyberpunk 2027. So in this video game, players will go to a real feeling environment. So you go there and you can play games and you win big lots. Basically, you get the funds, and there are also bugs in the system, which is really interesting. So you can use the bug and take benefits of it. So this is a bug of the programming, or sometimes we call it by design, and which is different from the real world. But actually in the real world, we also have system holes, right? Judges, or maybe some text system problems. But in here, it's like a systematic problem. Anybody, when you jump, whatever you were before, maybe you are a student, maybe you are employee for a bigger company, but as soon as you join this place, you are another person. Everything is just depends on what you have. Everybody starts from scratch at the same level. So it's just to give you a feeling that you have a new life and you can start from zero. It only depends on you, not your family. It's not about what your parents give you. And this is really amazing. Another one is a little bit, it's not a game, it's a film, which is Westworld. I really like the season 1 and season 2, and you see lots of people there. They cannot even tell if they are a real person or they're just a program. So this is another label to the metaverse. When you go there, you don't really know if it's a real person. And it can create lots of different scenarios for you. People cannot tell, is this artificial intelligence around you, you should see this, or it's by your nature. When this barrier diminished from person to person, and if there's no really new laws in this world, you can do everything you want, what kind of chaos it will be, right? So this is what Westworld is present. So this is the next decades as our generation we are encountered. The day now, we were born in a world before 2000, which is before the Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrency was invented. So in our conception as this generation, we believe US dollar is the most important dollar, most money, and we believe the real world is the most important things. But all of a sudden, for now, we started thinking about when the central government printed so much money, are this still reliable on this financial system? So the same things come to us is about the real world we are living in. Lots of people have an interesting conception is, are we really living in a world, or we are living in a program? We just look living in a sandbox. So at this point, we would like to see that it's possible everybody is living in a sandbox. We are programmatically to our career. So in the next decade, we have the chance to restart our life with the metaverse. But there still are some technologies we needed to make it happen. First, we need to have the new technology with virtual reality. Without virtual reality, we cannot go to a new world. We'll stick with the existing one, using a button and a keyboard. So we need those. Another one is 3D rendering. When you have different characters, you want to interact with them. right? You really want to like change it according to your action. You don't want to talk to a cartoon characters or images, which is move slides by slides or image by image. You don't really like that. You want someone who can do real-time rendering. So some companies like Autodesk, they provide this kind of technology, and they are right here in Montreal. But the most important thing that is you need computing power. Without computing, you cannot build a not a real world, but a virtual world, virtual real world, which means that you need everything to be calculated, computing on real time. So you can touch the characters, you can touch the scenario, you can working with different people from different places, regardless of how far away you are in a unified universe. So it requires fast network. 1 megabyte is not enough. You maybe need 1 gigabyte, even higher. You need millions of CPUs calculating for you. For example, you need high-end servers doing calculation real time to do the rendering. When you touch something, it gives you the reflection. So you can feel like the different changes of the surface. All those things, you cannot do it without the computing. And one most important is storage. You need to keep your figures, your characters, your digital assets, your owns in the universe. So the universe is building on this infrastructure. You really need those hardware and software and the system. But people don't want to rely on the existing society structure. For example, you don't really want to use your driver license to onboarding to the metaverse, right? You don't really want people to tell you that you are too old or you are too young, so you cannot be part of the universe. That needs to be done too. So those are something like you really need to have an entire new system to support it. Fortunately, Web3 provides those kind of technologies to make it happen. So especially with Filecoin ecosystem, I really see that there's lots of cool technology, cool companies, cool projects is developing on top of it. So with storage technology, for sure, IPFS and Filecoin is basically for everything. Without storage, we cannot onboarding characters. Just like what happening with OpenSea or other NFTs, you cannot save it on blockchain. Then if you cannot save it on blockchain, when you're offline, when the central, if you rely on some cloud service provider and it's offline, the character is gone. If you don't have blockchain to support your NFT, your unique characters, if somebody want to change your assets, for example, game controller thinks you are too rich, we wanted to eliminate your assets. We put 0, you're gone. Or some players think it's like they want to have the equipment you have. They just needed to go to the central database, change the value. Now everyone can get one. We don't want this to happen. So we need the decentralized storage to make sure the asset is unique. The storage is distributed. The server cannot be turned down. It should be online forever. On this case, we also want your ID is your own ID. Just like with blockchain world, we don't need a driver license to create a Filecoin address or using a passport to open an account on Ethereum. What you need is a decentralized ID, and it gives you all the access to the metaverse. Recently, Filecoin created the interoperable identity standard just a few days ago. So it's a good move to the metaverse. And for the gaming, like Filecoin already building the bridge with the neural network, OpenSea, NFT storage. So we can have the gaming assets onboarding on the Filecoin storage. On payment side, we have the W5 to wrap the token on the Ethereum payment. So you can make a payment from Ethereum network and another network. On the DeFi side, we have the project like Secure Finance, the building the lending and the loan to building the banking system for the Metaverse. And we also have the storage project and a retrieval like Istro to help you doing the retrieval. And on investment, we have our friend different capitals and bootcamp support. And the most important, on the computing side, first one is building a deal market to exchange the data and also doing computing on top of everything. And this is the full map, full landscape of all the ecosystem project. And the next year, I think that we are seeing more moving toward to the Metaverse. Yeah, that is pretty much it about my vision about the Filecoin future and the Web3 and Metaverse. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Thank you for all your imagination and hard work in the Web3 world. Next is the storage case study segment. This segment will have two guests to share with us IPFS and Filecoin storage cases. First, welcome Mainnet X fellow Fei Yan, bring to share music NFT with Filecoin. Fei Yan is a crypto enthusiast who has lived in Vancouver, Canada for a long time. Since testnet, they have been a part of the Filecoin community, participating in Space Race, Slingshot, Mainnet X, Dev Grant, and Enterprise SP programs. Currently running a small SD cluster at home. Let's welcome Fei Yan. Welcome.
Hi, everybody can see my screen now. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Fei Yan, and I'm honored to be invited to this Filecoin anniversary celebration hosted by FilSwan and talk about my adventure in this community. I joined Falcon because I wanted to do some home-based crypto mining, but without too much power consumption and heat. And Falcon is the best known candidate. However, after being in the community for a while, I realized it's so much more than that. A lot of people are interested, and there's a large ecosystem and a lot of events and programs hosted by the official team and ecosystem partners such as FilSwan. And after 1 year of operation, I'm still considered a small provider, but I have joined a lot of other programs. I'm sure you can also find a way to participate and contribute it to the community, no matter how big you are. You can find me on Filecoin Slack under the FEA200 handle. And this was the leaderboard during Space Race last year. As a home-based provider, I was able to reach number 10 on the list in the North America region, and that was fun. This is my focus right now, the Slingshot competition. It's been going on for over a year now. It is a competition of who can store more real data rather than pledging sectors with dummy data. During the whole course, I have sent out over 9,000 unverified deals and over 13,000 verified deals. For anyone who don't know, verified deals will require 10 times the collateral, but will give you 10 times the power. So as a provider, you will get 10 times of the efficiency comparing to pledging dummy data. The current project I'm working on is the 3,000 REST genomes. I have partnered with FilSwan platform to send out verified deals. if you are a storage provider who is interested in onboarding real data and want the efficiency, feel free to sign up in FilSwan. And in the next while, I'm also preparing another two projects with 1 petabyte each of verified data. And this is the current leaderboard of Slingshot 2.6, and the one with a red outline is the one that I just mentioned, 3,000 res. Now onto the music NFT project. This is the small web application demonstrating how to utilize RPFS to store music pieces and why it is useful in the NFT world. It is one of the finalists of Falcon Foundation Dev Grant Wave 7. And now it is fully complete and fully open sourced on GitHub. This is the GitHub page. It is MIT licensed, so you can fork the repository and do whatever you want, whether it's to learn about IPFS or use it as a backbone of your own project. The front end is using the Vue framework, and backend is Node.js and MongoDB. This is a screenshot of the actual portal. Upon arriving the homepage, visitors can browse albums by music genre or language. Also can search with any keywords. And entering the album detail page, visitors can see all the tracks in the album, play a preview of the music piece, and see all the metadata. Most importantly, a globally unique RPFS identifier for the music. So why RPFS is important in the NFT world? Because of the uniqueness. But NFT buyers will be more confident knowing that no one can replace the artist's work with another file without compromising the RPFS identifier. And if you are an artist and want to publish your music piece on this portal, it allows social login through Google Firebase API. With a simple configuration on the Firebase console, you can also enable even more ways of social login, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Then you go inside the user portal. You can create album, upload music pieces, and edit their metadata. There will be a publish button that once clicked, the music piece will be considered final and it will be published to an RPFS node, and then a unique RPFS identifier will be generated. That's all for my today's talk, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fei Yan. Okay, thank you, Fei Yan. The second guest on the storage case study segment is Zhenling Xiong, founder of Tuninsight AI, who will discuss machine learning labeled dataset NFT storage via IPFS and Filecoin. Tuninsight AI CEO and founder Zhenling Xiong is also the co-founder of QuintyTech and FlavorChat. Tuninsight AI is the Montreal-based artificial intelligence solution provider that develops AI-powered industry visual inspection and action detection products based on massive data. Let's give Zhenling Xiong a warm welcome. Welcome.
Recording. Hello, could you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Please allow me to share my screen. So hello, everyone. This is Jenny from Tuninsight AI. It's a great pleasure to attend this event. At first, please allow me to introduce my company. Tuninsight AI is a Montreal-based artificial intelligence solution provider that develops intelligent medical diagnostic technologies and AI-powered industrial visual inspection products based on massive data. So we provide deployment-ready AI solutions and enterprise-wide transformation programs for customers worldwide with our world-class deep learning, computer vision, and natural language processing technologies. We have won the Alibaba Cloud Starter Contest North American Finals at Silicon Valley before. We also have been invited to represent the Canadian delegations at the United Nations AI for Good Global Summit. Currently, we majorly work in 3 fields, including smart manufacturing, AI healthcare, and AI education. I will briefly give some examples of what we have done. So this is Airport AI. We use computer vision and deep learning to monitor airport operations and analysis every event that happens in the apron through existing ramp and air bridge cameras in order to optimize apron management in real time. It's been used in over 10 international airports now. This is a defect detection case for wood floor factory. We built a visual inspection and quality testing system for the factory, increased the accuracy of quality control, and reduced the labor cost. Collaborate with the top hospital in Shanxi, China. We built an AI dermatologist for skin disease diagnosis support based on 140,000 dermatologist labeled image data. And we are still like collecting data every year from all the hospitals in Shanxi. Our AI can recognize more than 30 types of major skin diseases with an accuracy of 90%. Collaborate with Central Hospital of University de Montréal. We leverage over 100 terabit medical data and develop epileptic seizure prediction with multimodal deep learning. So I believe that you notice that as an AI company, all the AI solutions are built based on massive data, right? So high quality annotated data by professionals is extremely valuable for us. It's the key to successful deep learning. We can say that data labeling or annotation is the process of adding metadata to a data set. This is the next $100 billion market. Through the collaboration with FilSwan, we decided to start this machine learning NFT data labeling project. In this case, Tuninsight AI provides world-class automated data annotation service in diverse scenarios. This project helps add comprehensive and consistent text when developing training datasets for machine learning. The solution can forge a dataset to NFT and save to the Falcon network to make the dataset unique and permission-based, with profit shared by the original author. There are many advantages in this platform. At first, IPFS enable low-cost transmission of dataset across continent. Second, NFT makes sure that the original dataset owner has the right to choose how many copies to sell and to sell to which decentralized ID owner, so he can share the profit from the usage. The NFT attribute is also a certificate of the owner's quality of service and brand. Moreover, Falcon makes the important annotated dataset saved safely on the network. And I think it's even more safe compared to those centralized cloud service. It also gives the owner the choice to discontinue the storage after the contract expires. In addition, integration with our business partner FilSwan, we can future move the dataset close to the computing resources required, save both bandwidth and cost as a turnkey solution for machine learning developers. Currently, this project is in the early stage, so I don't have too many details for the website and the app to show you guys. We will post more updates in the future. In the blockchain world, Tuninsight AI is still a student. I'm looking forward to learn more about blockchain from all of you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Fei Yan and Zhenling Xiong. As the IPFS and Filecoin ecosystem expands, more and more blockchain experts are joining in. Another event sponsor, FBG Capital, has increased its investment in the Filecoin and IPFS ecosystem. FBG is Asia's leading digital asset management and investment firm. Having been founded in 2017, FBG is decided to become the industry's leading platform for full spectrum Filecoin services. As infrastructure and ecosystem investment, technology solution service, leading service, asset management, except. We asked Gary, FBG Capital's director of Filecoin business, to share his thoughts on the Filecoin ecosystem. Gary has worked in the data storage industry for over 10 years, previously at IBM, EMC, and Lenovo. Gary joined FBG Capital as the business director of Filecoin in early 2020, and his current focus is on investments in the Filecoin ecosystem. Please welcome Gary.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Gary from FBG Capital. It's my honor to attend today's online event. Today, I'm going to share with you what FBG does and our business related to Filecoin. Well, first of all, let me introduce our company's business. FBG Capital was founded in 2017. Usually, we are known as a venture capital. We are early investor to many first-tier projects such as FTX, Chainlink, and Polkadot. Over the past 5 years, with our market-leading position, we have a very good relationship across the whole blockchain industry. Our second business is trading, here mainly with our own capital. It provides liquidity solutions and quantitative strategies according to the market. We also offer structured wealth management products, such as lending and DeFi yield farming. We started the mining business 1 year ago. That includes Bitcoin mining and Filecoin mining. Today, I would like to share more on our business related to Filecoin ecosystem. Let's talk about why we invest so much in the Filecoin ecosystem. We love the idea of decentralized storage, and we think it has a very, very promising future. Based on the advanced nature of IPFS storage technology and the accuracy of the economic model, we believe that Falcon will be one of the applications of blockchain that can connect the traditional IT industry, digital asset industry, and the blockchain technology. Based on the previous cognition, we will invest in the ecosystem development from 3 aspects. One is as a storage provider, and it is an important player in eco-technology. Part of that is investing in financial services. First of all, let's look at what we do as storage providers. In our first phase of budget, we plan to spend 520 million to provide storage by middle 2022. To today, we have spent a total 110 million. Of that, 32 million for hardware and 80 million for pledge file and gas. We plan to have a total of 520 petabytes by middle 2022. So far, we have completed 110 petabytes. Our current storage power are mainly distributed in 3 countries, which are Canada, Singapore, and South Korea. At present, Canada has 30 petabytes, which should be considered as the largest computing power of a single entity in North America. The second part of our business is that we hope to make some technical contributions to the ecosystem. For example, we hope that we can build a basic platform for those who want to participate in ecosystem projects. It is easy to interface with Filecoin technology, and we can also provide the supply chain and platform services for other entities that want to do infrastructure. That is, we can provide storage services and prepare for future data retrieval. The last part of our business is our financial services. We offer Falcon lending service to institutions. We would like to help other institutions to participate in providing storage and mining power through our financial services. Also, we are open to high net worth of customer for asset management service. Let's continue to our financial service. We invest in eco startup project to help them grow. So far, we have invested in a few Falcon eco projects, and we will continue to pay attention to new eco projects. We would like to invest more into the ecosystem to help them have a better and faster development. If you are interested in our business and services, please feel free to contact me. Together, let's build an even better Falcon ecosystem. That's all for today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. We look forward to FBG Capital accelerating the Falcon ecosystem and thank you, Gary. We look forward to FBG Capital accelerating the Filecoin ecosystem and enabling it to flourish. Next up is ecosystem projects. Welcome two guests who will share their IPFS and Filecoin eco projects with us. First, welcome founder of Ipfs, Jimmy Lee. Protocol Labs application research group is led by Jim Lee. The ARG is the Filecoin IPFS development team that creates end-to-end application and platform software. Jimmy Lee previously worked for several startups and assisted in design and implementation of export development tools. Let's welcome Jimmy Lee. Welcome.
Unfortunately, Jimmy will not be available for today's event, but he has sent me a video that we can take a look at.
Hey, so thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about Hey, so thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about Estuary. My name is Jim Lee, but I also go by Cake at Protocol Labs, and I work on a team called the Application Research Group. There's a few of us who are trying to build a cool new IPFS node with archival storage and retrieval using Filecoin. And I'm really excited to show it off and kind of help people understand what it is, even if they've never seen it before. So one thing to go into when we talk about Estuary, it's actually built by a lot of modules built by Protocol Labs and a lot of brilliant engineers and collaborators who have helped contribute a ton of really cool stuff. And so if you get into the code base, all of our code is open source. So if you get in there and you have a look, you'll see a lot of these modules. You can see that really brilliant minds like Stephen Allen have contributed a ton to make Estuary really possible. So it's a place where we experiment. It's a place where we learn. It's a place where we try things and test the ceiling of different software that we've written. So just kind of see if it can do more. And what people kind of see here is in different files is kind of the example of how we include everything, and you can kind of dig in, and if you go through every single module, you'll pretty much have a full understanding of how libp2p, IPFS, LMDB, all the tools that we use, how they really work. And I highly recommend it if you're really trying to get into the technical side of Estuary. And a lot of things will start feeling a lot less alien, which is really useful if you want to contribute. But what most people expect something like this, just a simple experience. When they're actually using Estuary, they just want to have something where they can just add files and not think about it too much. And so we live in both worlds. We want to have a consumer experience for Estuary where you can just upload anything you want, and a technical side where you can dig into all of the code and get a feeling for how you can contribute. And if you really care about peer-to-peer distributed web, it's a great place to go and get involved. Or you can just use our GUI and use our developer API, which I'll get into later, and use Estuary. The point of all of this, though, is to get deals onto chain in a reliable way. So Estuary is really cool because it helps take something that's really complicated. Like, I wouldn't say Filecoin is super complicated. I would say that it's just a really protocol level, infrastructure level kind of technology. And, a lot of people who don't have the experience with those things might struggle with making deals. And so Estuary tries to make making deals a lot easier. So what we've done is we've created a system where once you upload a file, through the GUI, through one of 3 API endpoints, through curl commands, whatever you like, you can actually just, see where all the deals are and see the proposal receipts, see the Filecoin deal receipts once it's on chain, has a start sector date, and get a feeling for, well, gosh, like now I have my files on Filecoin. And instead of it being something that's so foreign and so complicated, you can actually look here and be like, wow, like I have all my deals and they are working on chain. And so if you're working on a product like Slate, for example, you can actually use Estuary to have peace of mind that the data is backed up on the Filecoin. And if the IPFS pin is lost, there's somewhere where it can be restored. And that's really cool, in my opinion. So yeah, what's the point? You have valuable data. You want to make your valuable data available to the world and ensure it's archived and retrievable from anywhere. And you need a simple tool to upload that data, and you need proof that data exists. And Estuary covers all of that. And so that's why we built Estuary, and that's why we've made it available to everyone, open source, where you can take our code, run it yourself, or you can use ours that we're running for everyone and play with it. And so the gist of it really is Estuary makes uploading data and replicating that data around the world a 5-minute problem. So a user can log in, upload a file, and retrieve the pinned CID from any IPFS gateway, and trust that we will get the file stored on at least 6 storage providers while they go on and do something else. And so we have that experience in the product today, and we're really proud of that. We're proud that people can just do that, and then they can go to a web page and see that, oh, I can just verify that this CID is on chain. And so hopefully these kind of experiences, since we open source all of this, will help people see that Filecoin is not like a super complicated thing from the usage side. There are a lot of tools out there that we've learned from that help make it a lot easier to add stuff to Filecoin. And as the network matures and as the storage market and retrieval markets are becoming more defined, these tools that make it easy to upload files will make it really easy to get stuff onto the network that people can retrieve and view and look at later. And maybe even do data post-processing where they start to consider, oh gosh, like I have satellite imagery and I want to do something with it. And the data center that has the storage miners might have like a wonderful amount of extra compute power that they can use to process those images and maybe circle some crop fields, etc. You have a variety of options for how you want to upload data. So this is actually something that I want to talk about when it comes to S-Story. I want everyone to know that you can add a single file, or you can add a CID, or you can add a CAR. And for all of them, we've preserved the Unix FS structure. So for single files, of course, you're just going to have them batched into a flat directory. But for the CID and CAR, whatever you give us, we'll preserve the structure that that represents whatever is behind that CID and the CAR file. So whatever part of the pipeline you're in, you could just use the way that makes the most sense. So on Twitter, we are a research group. Our website is arg.protocol.ai. And if you have any questions at all, or if you need anything from me, please let me know. And have a great Filecoin Orbit. Have a great great time in the ecosystem, and hopefully we all learn together and grow together. And thank you for having me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's go on. Ecosystem Project's second guest is Charles Cao, founder of FilSwan and the host for today. Starting from 2018, FilSwan team has been decided to decentralize the storage and computing solutions. FilSwan services are enhanced by edge computing, IPFS Filecoin storage, and decentralized ladder technologies. The products are used by Universal, VR, AR, and other high-performance computing companies. With FilSwan, you can perform computing tasks at your nearest location at the lowest cost. They are building the largest fog computing network for Metaverse. Since the start of FilSwan project, the team has received several development grants from Filecoin Foundation and onboard community developers and accompanied to the Filecoin network. Welcome to Layer 2 and Edge Computing on Filecoin by Charles Cao. Welcome.
Hi everyone, glad to see you guys again. We just see each other about few minutes ago. Yeah, so today we'll bring everyone the FilSwan platform, which is the edge storage and then computing based on Web3. So FilSwan project init from the last year started with the slingshot 1.0, which is around last year at this time. So almost the same time as the mainnet launch. So basically since that time, we already see that storage provider and the computing power come with it will be the future trend. So at that time, we actually are doing the storage provider. We have about several hundred terabytes of storage data at the moment, and we're already ranking top in the North America storage providers. But we decided to switch the direction to ecosystem development because we strongly believe that how to use the data and how to provide service beyond the data will be the future trend for the Filecoin ecosystem. From that day start, we have stored over 300,000 deals on top of our platform. We have stored over 400 terabyte data, which is almost, at that time, we almost take 1/3 of the data storage in the North America. We have reached about 700 nodes all across the world. For all those service providers who is online, we're doing the reputation system. We give scores, we fund their communication capabilities, and we also provide the environment for them to upload their information. Now we also have lots of clients who has been using our services, and also storage providers who is active taking deals and sending out the data retrieval services. Yeah, so this is the 4 landscape. First one was designed for the business sectors in our industry. So here we divide everything by 2 big categories: the data collection runtime flow and the end user runtime flow. So for the end user part, is what people was feeling like when they started using a Filecoin network. So it's exactly same user experience as the Web 2. So the business people can have their knowledge engineer, have their business architecture with their developers who is doing the transformation and their enterprise network. For example, you as a flight company, you maybe have your booking service. For the deep learning company, you have your modeling for image recognition, or you have a 3D company doing the image rendering or video rendering, or you are even streaming video providers. So you can, using your enterprise network, connect to the different edge services and start providing services to the user. So, however, besides the thing, the most important part is the data flow. Everything we are here is talking about is data. So, as for example, with the YELP or Amazon Review or other review platform, you maybe actively crawl data from the network. And at the same time, if you're deep learning companies, you maybe get a lot of data from the public data set, or you get the data from the internal network. For example, like the Slingshot, we uploaded over 28 petabyte data to the Filecoin network. All those data actually is open to public. Like companies maybe use this data. And some companies, they have enterprise data, they want to encrypt it before they can put to use. The encryption can happen both internally or externally. So you maybe put all this data in a place we call the connections. They can be object-oriented database, storage base. They can be block storage. It can also be something like traditional SQL database. Everything is possible. However, nowadays, the most used storage services without blockchain, it will be the AWS S3. So let's assume that they are using S3 or other internal object-oriented storage. You maybe have a lot of criteria data sources for you to analyze. And this data sets, like take a Slingshot data set as example. Well, maybe I have the geom data, like a GEM-AD, or you maybe have some video data, like the Blackbird, or you maybe have some data like the cancer platform, cancer data set, like our ecosystem friend Tuninsight AI. They have using the way more data self-driving data to analyze and perform some training. They also have some image data processing experience. So while we're talking with them, they help us doing all the research about creative data set as well. Here is the important part. After storage is stored on local cache, you probably want to persistent it to the Filecoin network. The major reason is here. With existing infrastructure, we have IPFS or you have S3, but all the storage is on your local environment. Some people using cloud. There was two reasons. One reason is because the cost. But when you go to larger scale, the cloud doesn't save you money. Some people just don't have scale or don't want to maintain a large storage locally because it's very error prone. And if you have some disaster happens in your local data center or your local storage, you maybe have difficulty to get it back. But with Filecoin, it will solve the issue perfectly. Because as we mentioned before, the Filecoin now has more than 3,000 nodes distributed all across the world. And on top of that, we have active storage providers. Currently, FilSwan is already connected. So basically, you can have one data set backup on multiple storage nodes. On top of the storage node, once you have some data corruption or you have local disaster happens, you always have the choice to fetch your data from those storage providers all over the world. And then you can use in a Filecoin node to retrieve the data and you can get the data back from our system. Then you can rebuild the entire data set. We call it rebuild the clusters from your local system. In this way, your enterprise level protected by our solutions. For sure, you also need a wallet to pay for the Filecoin node. So basically, you need payment services as well. Here, you need a secure encryption services. You can either using AES encryption or using SHA encryption or other ECIES compatible encryption. We know that in Filecoin ecosystem, there is a project called FilSwan. Currently, is actually working on the implementation of enterprise encryption. So finally, get everything your data secure. Now you come to another boundary is how to use the data to use these services, start providing to the external world. Fortunately, in Filecoin ecosystem, we already have the project called the IPFS, which can provide your enterprise level help of everything. So you can get the IPFS is a content delivery network by nature with CID, IPLD compatible data structure. Once you upload one piece of the data on IPFS, it will gradually distribute it to the network, to the globe, all the global nodes. But for large data set, you maybe take a relatively long time. But however, the IPFS is totally free, and due to the IPLD format of the data structure, it can save 30% to 50% of the volume as a car file. So you can retrieve it according to the node most close to you. With FilSwan, we also provide a content delivery node in our data center North America. We are going to build more data center and more content delivery work globally. For now, we already have a large developer group who is actively working with us. So hopefully in the future, in the next coming months, we can build the other 3 nodes in different places. At the end, you get everything ready. Now you'll be able to provide the data to the public source. This is the enterprise level solution we presented to our client, and we are preparing all the tools related to those business solutions. Here is the full landscape of FilSwan platform. In order to solve all the issue or all the feature we mentioned above, we provide 5 modules in order to get everything resolved perfectly. The first part we are doing is the IPFS Filecoin storage module. It has the IPFS caching layer to provide the faster access of the hot data. We have an S3 integration to give you a S3 feeding of the storage SDK. So for the industrial users who previously working with AliCloud or AWS, you'll be able to transfer your data from S3 to Filecoin network seamlessly. With the encryption suite we provided, you'll be able to do the encryption. You'll be able to provide the storage. So we have a storage provider, we have encryption and the decryption services. We also have the Filecoin storage, permanent storage provider services as the backup layer. And all those work has been done. And another interesting part is the ledger service. With enterprise users, they really like Web 2 feeding of network. So they don't really need to worry about the low level of different layers of those kind of services. So you'll be able to using the storage contracts. People, when using the service, they don't need to worry about how about the data uploaded and I'm not getting stored. Or how about we store the data and it's not refunded properly. Or due to some error happens. Or we wanted to do something like calculation or other things beyond the storage. Also about the region. How about we have storage in one region? Now we want to cross to another region. However, with the original storage provider, like we don't know, right? As storage provider, we don't know how much distance from us, how much latencies. Sometimes cross-continent cost may be variant to different cases. So this is something the ledger will work. It's more like a continental hub in the cross communication. Then we have the payment gateway. Yeah, then the payment gateway part is really for the make the payment more smoothly. But now we support the Filecoin payment on the storage service. However, we also have other blockchain projects like near blockchain, like Ethereum blockchain or other storage projects. They really want to using the payment, want to using the Filecoin storage. However, they cannot directly pay because we don't have the bridge yet to make the payment. So with the FilSwan's payment gateway, yeah, you may able to make a payment based on USDC or USDT or other blockchain tokens like Matic token. We show the prototype on the HackFS, and we are continuing working on it. The targeted release date will be middle of November. And it will largely solve the current situation that we have storage node all across the world, but we are so far we still limited to the Filecoin payment. The other interesting part, which is we have been working on it for a long time, a couple of years, we can see that is the edge computing part. So as we see that we have so many nodes and we have so many strong, powerful epic servers doing the P1, P2, and the C2 with the GPUs and the high-end the CPUs and the memory, everything. But however, some storage nodes for now, they don't have much data storage needs at the moment, but they maybe have lots of calculation needs. For example, like with the company recently located in Toronto, they are not really a storage large consumption company, but they also have about 100 terabyte data storage on the local storage system. However, what they really need is the calculation capability to process the data. They want to back up they don't want to move the data out of AWS because AWS storage, S3, and AWS calculation services that are really tightly connected together. If we move the data from the AWS to the local storage, then they lost the capability to accelerate the computing because storage and computing had to be in one place. The same story happens with the other scenario as storage in rendering. Like we all know that everybody wants to bring the storage and the calculation as close as possible. So we are trying to solve this problem. We're building smart contracts on top of the different calculation resources. So yeah, be able doing the edge computing as close to your data. For sure, when you have lots of problems with, for example, you have data in one place, but your GPU resources is really in different places, or you are streaming the result to different countries. At this time, you will be able to using the CDN access to different geolocations and cross-continent, and you are paying by volume and bandwidth. Those kind of service we are closely working with Malteam, which is a ecosystem project in the storage builder team as well. Yeah, so this is the most important features we are providing. You will see those features at the end of the year or online. Yeah, those are all the positive carrots. We are closely working with the Filecoin Foundation. It has been a long journey since the launch of the last year. We are working, as ZX mentioned us as well, when the one last year as a Filecoin Mainnet launch, we have the honor to be selected as the computing part for the Filecoin Future session. And we're also working with File Plus project, which is like a large volume distributing of DLs. We're working with lots of large data set. Currently, like we're distributing over 1 petabyte of data to different storage provider in the next 3 months. That's our goal. In order to make it working more smoothly, we recently released the new module called storage provider autobid. So the autobid system is an automatic market, can matching the storage provider with different storage kind together. So the first part released is a storage provider, and you can download on the FilSwan GitHub page. You get all the source code. It's open source, so you don't need to really worry about the barriers or anything like a change of the code to malicious code inside it to damage your software, hardware, or touch your wallet. It doesn't have this issue. And for the storage client, it's also open sourced. For the V1 version is Python based, also open source. So very easy for you to understand if you know Python. And the second version, V2 we are building is a Go version, which is much easier for you to building a binary images and put it running on top of your production server. So it's production ready services. Anybody using the FilSwan services are be able to create your own storage task and dispatch to the geolocation nodes. Now we are also part of data retrieval builder team. This is the 6 teams currently working on it. I think the Filecoin Foundation recently just typed a new website to describe about the teams who's actually working on those solutions. We have the honor to be the early access to building the data retrieval market. Yeah, but deep learning is really our most interesting part, building calculations, rendering, and put the entire Web3 to the metaverse. That's why we have working with different projects like Tuninsight AI, the Fei Yan's music and NFT projects, and also with 3D image processing projects. Also get a dev front, but it's busy, so he didn't come today. But we support them to building those open market for everything. This is a dashboard of the first one. So on the dashboard, you'll be able to see the total miners we have been linked is about 700 of them. We have 400 active miners. We are be able to provide storage, and we have storage providers with reputations, scores, and also you'll be able to get the different curves about their score. You probably maybe not really happy with some storage provider not stable, so you want to get a more stable one. And yeah, another one is the lifecycle management. So with first one solution, you'll be able to see the entire DR task status. You'll be able to see where it comes from and what is the process, is it pending, and what's the DR type? Is this a regular DR or is a verified 10+ DR? Or you'll be able to download the CSV file after you get everything done. One improvement inside our platform is we're using the task-based system instead of the storage DR. One task has the combine of several DLs, and it gives you lots of information about different access. And this is the S3, the famous FS3. It gives you a one-click button to back up everything to the network. And you also can using the terminal to doing all the micro control of everything. And this is a typical FS3 working. You can connect any storage provider like existing storage provider like Google, AWS, or your local instance, and connect to a system we call the FS3. Then we have a batch service behind the FS3. We are batching different kind of services, and then we have different storage. For example, you have a bucket or you have a volume. We'll batch it, and you can batch it on daily basis, send it to a Filecoin network to the storage providers. So once you have problem in one day, you can retrieve it back from specific version. Like we want a 3 months ago version, we want 2 months ago version, or we really want yesterday's version. But you cannot get as a batch really like below 1 day, because Filecoin backup usually takes 1 day with 1 terabyte of data. And this is the computing services. Like this is exactly what we'll get. You can download the storage from the FS3. FS3 get the data from Filecoin. Then you load it to local cache. You start doing the image recognition, and you will know what is the name of those cute monkeys. As some like application we have been working since last year. We're working lots of starting project. We're currently also working with McGill University about a federal machine learning system based on blockchain, and it's funded by the government, GPIC, and we also get support from the academy researchers, and it's really interesting. And we will review the result and open the result to the international papers. Yeah, and this is also achievement, and what we have been working with Filecoin Foundation. We get a dev grant from 6, 7, 8, 9. I also have dev grants with others.
So the 9 is the computing part is the latest one, and we're really interesting to working on it. And those are all the ecosystem projects working closely with FirePlus, IPFS, Texel, and Map. Yeah, that's pretty much about everything and of FilSwan is doing. And it's a little bit longer, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Charles. Storage service providers can better serve storage users thanks to FilSwan. The roundtable discussion is the summit's final part. The panel's topic is Filecoin regulation risk and concerns, challenges and new opportunities. Let's
Sorry,
welcome
Nancy.
our panel. Okay.
No, Nancy, sorry to interrupt you. Since our panel discussion start from 10:30, I will play a short clips about Falcon community event introduction so that people can have a more understanding about our event.
Okay.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Filecoin Orbit. My name is Colin, but as many of you know, my friend's Colin, and I'm absolutely delighted to be with you here today at one of the many community events around the world. So if you're joining a community event, here is a warm welcome to Filecoin Orbit, a week of events celebrating everything that we've achieved together since Mainnet launched a year ago, and looking forward to what's next for the Filecoin community in the years to come. I'm so grateful to everyone here today and to everyone in the global Filecoin community who has made the last year of this journey possible. From storage providers to developers to clients to ecosystem collaborators and of course the broader community, you have all contributed to Filecoin's collective mission to create a decentralized, efficient, and robust foundation for humanity's information. If you haven't done so yet, please take a quick minute to register at orbit.filecoin.io or to take a look at the schedule of all the amazing community events throughout the week. And if you want to tweet, please use the hashtag FilecoinOrbit to share pictures or excerpts from today. So I figured I'd do the 2-minute version of looking back over the last 12 months and picking out a few highlights. So first and foremost, due to the incredibly hard work of the community, Filecoin has become the storage network of Web3 over the last year. It's also enabled Filecoin to become the data and content platform of Web3 and P2P to become the networking library of Web3 as well. Now, when you focus on Filecoin, it's just incredible to see that we have had over 8,000 contributors to GitHub across the Filecoin repos over the last year or so. And Falcon has become one of the top 5 most actively developed blockchain protocols in recent studies as well. In terms of storage providers, over 3,000 storage providers have added over 12 exabytes of storage, which is large enough to store 3 billion 1080p movies, 50,000 copies of Wikipedia, or really 1.2 million versions of all of Web3 data, which is remarkable. This is just a quick snapshot of all the logos of just some of the storage providers that are providing services to the ecosystem today. Now, in terms of Web3 collaborations, Filecoin has been actively integrating and bridging with other major Web3 projects in 2021. And most of these integrations have come with joint grant programs and hackathons to encourage a bunch of new developers to adopt these bridges and use Filecoin as the underlying storage layer of these other protocols. Of course, IPFS Falcon has become the default tooling for NFTs. NFT.storage has become a pretty popular developer tooling platform, and many NFT platforms have adopted this as their underlying technology. IPFS has become natively integrated with a bunch of browsers, including Brave and Opera. I think this has enabled over 250 million monthly active users on those browsers itself. Lots of video and audio use cases across Filecoin and IPFS. VideoCoin and Filecoin have come together to power video NFTs. LivePeer and Filecoin have done a bunch of co-mining pilots to enable transcoding, storage, and retrieval of videos. And Audius has integrated IPFS to really distribute the next version of Web3 audio, which many music and artists are starting to adopt. Web 2 data sets are being stored on Filecoin using Starling Labs, which is establishing trust for humanity's data. Internet Archive's another great example of this. They're backing up films and audiobooks onto Filecoin as well. And we've launched a whole bunch of easy developer tooling, including Web3.storage, Estuary, Textiles, Bitbot, and many, many others to make it easy for developers to adopt Filecoin. Now, it was an amazing year for developers. We had lots of hackathons, grants, accelerators, ecosystem investors to spur a bunch of activity in the ecosystem. This includes hackathons, where over 10,000 hackathons engaged with IPFS or Filecoin over the course of 2021, and we've absolutely ramped that up. Community events are now launching 5 hackathons a month that are engaging over 500 to 1,000 developers per hackathon. And so we see a bright future in 2022 for this as well. We've had lots of developer grants across the Filecoin Foundation and many other supporters, and over 60 teams have graduated from accelerators this year, raising seed funds and becoming real businesses built on IPFS, Filecoin, and libp2p. These are just a few of the accelerator partners: Filecoin Launchpad, partnered by Tachyon, Outlier Ventures, Techstars, and the Long Hash Ventures Filecoin Frontier Accelerator throughout the year. Finally, there's lots of capital for developers who want to build businesses on Filecoin. Over 65 billion of external capital has been raised specifically to invest in the IPFS and Filecoin ecosystems at the application layer. So exciting times for developers that are entering the ecosystem. All this has culminated to, I think, over 230 applications being built on IPFS and Filecoin today. And that's really growing exponentially. I'm so excited for that to hit new heights in 2022. I also just want to take a quick minute to preview the exciting moments of this week. So this week we have over 200 community events throughout the week. And this is in multiple countries, I believe 10 countries, including the US, China, Italy, Nigeria, India, the Netherlands, Kenya, and many, many others throughout the world. This also includes a whole variety of topics, including developer tools, NFTs, how we can make Filecoin a green network, storage tools, policy, DeFi and FinTech, the Metaverse, Web3 storage, Web2 storage, Filecoin retrieval market, and many, many more. And thank you to the incredible organizers of these events throughout the world, including the Filecoin Foundation, IPFS Force, Ken Labs, FilSwan, Protoschool, DWeb, Matrix Storage, Secured Finance, and all the other ones that you see on the screen today. You're putting on incredible events with such a diverse array of topics. I'm excited to participate personally, and I know many of the other community members are as well. This is just a quick preview of some of the potential events around the world that might happen this week. And of course, to track all of those events and schedules, and if you also want to speak at any of these events, please register or visit orbit.filecoin.io and tweet with the hashtag FilecoinOrbit. Great. So just want to step back here and just say how grateful I am to the powerful group of developers, storage providers, clients, ecosystem partners, and community members who are bringing Filecoin's mission to reality. Whether you're engaging virtually or safely in person, please bring your ideas, your suggestions for how we can evolve the Filecoin network for the better going forward. Both myself and the entire community wants to hear from you. And so to the organizations, the individuals that are investing in the Filecoin ecosystem, thank you. This is absolutely just the beginning. Enjoy the sessions today, ping me anytime, and looking forward to all the major community events throughout the week. Take care.
Okay, great. That was the video shared by FilSwan. Okay, next I'm gonna give Nancy to talk about our panel discussions.
Okay, thank you, Pei Qi. Thanks to Colin for bringing us the latest on Filecoin ecosystem. Okay, the roundtable discussion is the summit's final part. The panel's topic is Filecoin regulation, risk and concerns, challenges and new opportunities. Let's welcome our panel discussion host, June, and the 3 guests, Jonathan Vitter, Stuart Berman, and Charles Tao.
Hello, June.
Hi, can you hear me here?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm today's host, June from Ipfs Yan. Nice to see you guys here today. So let's have a briefly introduce to our guest speaker for today. First of all, is Charles, the Filecoin ambassador. And second one is the Stuart Berman, the CTO of Picnicky and company, right? Hi.
Hello.
So let's get started. In the past year, the storage provider around the world together have taken the Filecoin storage size to 12.3 EIB from 230 PIB. The wallet data has grown from 0 to 145.98 PIB. The current storage capacity on Filecoin, 12 bytes EIB to be specific, so can keep 45,000 Wikipedia pages and 685,000 years video talk. So besides improving data model, in what direction do you think Filecoin should move towards? Do you see any surprises that Filecoin could bring to the public in the future years? Stuart, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that that part of the question. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. 1 second. So this, so do you see any surprises for the Filecoin can bring to the public in the future years?
Well, yeah, I think the public is going to be surprised, but I don't know that they'll understand its Filecoin. I think what Filecoin does for the world and for the community will be very surprising. How quick it comes this year, next year, I'm not so sure. For instance, I was talking to a neighbor who's part of the healthcare system in the US. He'd worked for Mayo Clinic and some other healthcare systems. And I was saying how my health records since I was born are scattered. You know, every office tends to lose them or not. You know, I've changed doctors many times. There's no complete healthcare record that I can get my hands on. And when I changed doctors recently, they only had very limited information. And I said, well, go to the other doctor and get it. And the other doctor's like, well, yeah, we're not sure where it went. So can you imagine using a blockchain-based system like Filecoin to collect these records and let the patient, let me control them, not a doctor's office control them? I mean, that's really the essence of Web3, right? Is user control rather than hoping somebody has got all that information about me stored properly and I can control access to it. So I'm not saying we're going to change the healthcare system in a year, but I think that's the kind of hope that Filecoin brings to the world, you know, the way we can manage and interact with data. And I think, you know, I saw the presentation earlier by Jimmy Lee and Estuary, you know, and how they can quickly store stuff with a user interface that's very, very low tech in terms of not having to know much in the way of coding. It's very easy to use. So I think that's what we're going to see is just people interacting with these storage systems, and they don't have to know what Charles and I and others know about how to make it work, you know, how the protocol works.
It's a network problem.
Charles, you want to add something to that?
No, I just wondering like when you have a network issue from then, like yeah. So storage provider, you are the one. I think you're the one of the most experienced people in the storage provider industry. And congratulations on your recently joining of the picnic. Now you are also joining one of the biggest storage provider in North America. You're always one of the biggest, but now even bigger. Like the Apple said, bigger than bigger. Yeah. So we have experienced like a different paths from the storage point of view. Like for us, it's really interesting to see like in North America, the storage provider have different paths from their choices. We see some storage provider still like doing the service at home. We saw some storage provider first start at home, then move to the data centers because they want they have enough experience growing from a small provider, then they want to provide enterprise level services. We also see some people like Kevin. Kevin is not here today, but I'm still happy to talk about him. Like Kevin, like he's really impressed me that he instead of like move to data center, just move to data center. Also build a company, like build a hobby farm company. And I also glad that you are working with him together now. And for us, we go to another path is we kind of not moving forward on the storage provider role. We take the head off, but we still keep some capability of storage providing, but we move more on the service provider role. Because we see that there are so many people currently dedicated to the storage provider industry, and the North America storage provider has been ecosystem have been growing up more healthy than what it was 1 year ago. 1 year ago, we really don't have big players. We don't really have so many people hosting data center enterprise services. At that time, we are the pioneer to provide the DR storage service and capacity to the entire ecosystem. But then nowadays, we think that it's a time like to building something beyond the infrastructure. That's the change of our role. So I'm so happy like the diversity of the path of the North America ecosystem storage providers is really healthy to provide the different kind of storage services and the choices to the users. And that is really impressive.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think, you know, we're just beginning this journey. I mean, we've been on it, you and I, for over a year, and it feels like we've come a long way, but it's really just the beginning, right? I mean, I see a really diverse ecosystem developing with so many different players, you know, and providing so many different services. I think it's something that we look at what the demand looks like and we follow that demand. So whether it's on the consumer side, you know, like with Fei Yan talking about NFTs and music, to something that we've pivoted to, which is really kind of the enterprise storage. And what we're seeing out there are many, many businesses that and organizations. I mean, it doesn't have to be just a private business. It could be an NGO, a nonprofit, a government agency. They're really, really interested in storing very large amounts of data, at least, you know, kind of a cold storage to start with, because the alternatives that we know, the commercial alternatives like Azure, AWS, Google, are so much more expensive. And this is an early indication that there's really far more demand out there than we can even supply, you know, in terms of storage. And, you know, we're interested really in building up the ecosystem and helping others become really enterprise class storage providers. However, there's still a place for other people with other services, right? I don't think there's one type of storage provider or one type of miner that is appropriate, right? I think you're going to have people fill those gaps as they discover those gaps. And that's what we're learning as we go along. So we see that the demand has many, many different attributes. So when I look at the direction that we see Filecoin needing to move, we're seeing things like a concern for privacy and access control, which is today not part of the protocol, but a lot of these large organizations really demand that. Or we look at scale, and the question is how many petabytes, how many terabytes can we store per day per storage provider, or as a network as a whole. If somebody comes to you with 100 petabytes, they want to wait a year for that. They want that stored very, very quickly. So how can the ecosystem support that? We see the desire for understanding storage providers and differentiating. One of the visions, I think, of Filecoin was kind of a vast distributed storage provider network with almost a random aspect to it. But what we're seeing, at least in the large organization world, is they want to know, where will this be stored? Will this be in Europe, where they have GDPR concerns? Will it be stored in North America? Will I be able to get various terms, in terms of service level agreements? Will I be able to choose storage providers that use 100% renewable energy? Will I be able to choose storage providers that are located in, very enterprise class data centers, and not like me? I have my machines downstairs in my basement, right? So that's maybe not suitable for some of these large organizations. So they have these questions about attributes. So we look at what the demand is and what they're asking for. How can we delete files? The Filecoin network really isn't designed today to say, oh, that file, there's a legal problem with that file, right? It's maybe got some kind of legal fight over it. Can we delete that file? Can we find it and delete it? And these are the kind of things that we're looking at. How about deals? We have potential customers that want to store data for 7 years or even 1,000 years. They've said they would like to store for 1,000 years. How do you make it so that you can renew the deal and not have to start all over, right? You already got the store, you already have the data on your system. How can we just extend it and not have to have them resend the data, which is a problem. So all of these things, I think, will affect how it's perceived publicly, not just by the general public, but by different, large consumers.
All right, thank you guys for sharing. So let's go to the next one. So the on-chain ecosystem is also of the vital importance to the Filecoin's development. So the Filecoin Foundation has spent a lot to create an incubator and offered tens of millions of dollars for ecosystem funding. Currently, numerous applications have already appeared on the Filecoin network. So FilSwan is also a great platform for data order transaction matching and calculation based on IPFS and Filecoin network. Charles, could you please share with us what was your original intention for creating the FilSwan?
Yeah, before we talk about first one, I'm more willing to talk about the entire ecosystem, how it blooming up. So this is a really interesting thing that we have seen that in the beginning, before the Filecoin mainnet launch, they already have some ecosystem project in development in the early stage. It's mostly like a wallet browser, right? We know that the browser was building before the Filecoin testnet, even on DevNet, people is already working on that. We see lots of projects, and those browser projects, some of them are funded by Filecoin foundations. So Filecoin Foundation really like to start incentive the ecosystem from early stages. And yeah, then what I think that in around the Filecoin Mainnet launch, they have the dev grounds. So the dev grounds like get increase lots of interesting companies. We see that some companies, currently bigger ones in China and Europe, they are the early access to those grounds, but they also the early contributors. We know that in some retail bugs was funded in testnet and devnet was by them. But one big change happens is the Filecoin Mainnet launch 1 year ago. But 1 year ago, we see that during the space race, if we still can remember, in the space race, the phase 1 is about the storage capability, right? Then at the space race SR1 and SR2, we see that there was one interesting table which is used for calculating reward. It's about retrieval success rate. At that time, nobody really understand what is retrieval, and nobody understand how it works. But your reward is really based on those retrieval success. You need a public IP, or you need a floating IP, dynamic IP to make sure your retrieval works. Then you can get the price qualified. I remember that time it was 60%. You need to have 60%, otherwise you cannot get a reward. I saw lots of companies really nervous at the moment. Why I didn't get a 60%? Why I missed all the rewards? That's really funny data at them. But honestly, at that time, people don't realize that how important to get the data back. So after that, the Filecoin Foundation really like put a lot of effort on both sides. One side is fix bugs, add new features for the retrieval. On the other hand, they put a lot of funds for development team, encourage them to building ecosystem project around it. We see that Vodi, who is doing the video players, we see some projects like the secure finance, right? They're doing the DeFi to add the liquidity for the Filecoin lending and the loans. Then we see that there are also some projects doing the NFTs early stage. All those things are based on one thing: data storage, data retrieval. And the third part is, where is the demand? Where is the receivers, providers? We have been there for quite a while, and within 6 months of the mainnet launch, every day what I heard is, who will provide the services? What is the price? We still remember the early days. Everybody is so happy to set up our storage provider service as $0, because that is testnet. We don't realize that how precious each Filecoin is. We give it them for free. Sometimes because of fatal bugs, we lost the win post, we get a penalty, we don't care, right? Still remember the day we are so, let's see,
Yeah.
naive.
Yeah, I was just giving it away. Thousands of Phil.
It's really like interesting. Like,
did you face any like difficulties during this, like when you're making this project before?
Yes, for sure. We have lots of difficulty. The most difficult part is that we don't really know what is going to happen with the next release of Filecoin. What do you have done today? Work around the API sometimes changes, and some workaround that's not working anymore, and random, like for example, like when you're sending deals, like you think it's successful with one deal. Then you are happy, added the number to 10, you know it crashes. Another interesting part is that you were so nice and you tell everybody that hey, this is my node. Welcome to any deals. You get 100 deals come to your node and you crash this. and because that was one, maybe sometimes in early versions, the bugs is on Lotus level. So you might have experienced that what is happening, you don't really know, and you miss the win post. Then you cry next day. After the first day, you are so happy that I'm accepting deals. Next day, you turn to the crying face that who can help me. and there are a lot of things that just we cannot explain why it's happening. So I still remember the most normal solutions we have done is most frequent things that this version doesn't work. Let's change another version to a higher version. Maybe it works, maybe it's not working, but I think I'm the lucky one, and we always find the solutions for it. Sometimes we are yelling at the channel, and the Filecoin Foundation people help us, and also community people find some workaways or some. I remember like the student writing. There are lots of commands is that you should follow this one, that one, that one. You should set up your control address with this amount of Filecoin. Even though it says only need 5, you need to put 10, and you need using some like hacker command remove sectors, something like that. So I really remember the early days. We use it every few days, sector removes, and then sometimes and also the famous one. Today, nobody was talking about it. The famous one is gas premium. What is gas premium? Right? I think a few people today they can tell what is gas premium. But last year, at the time, this is a very important concept. If you don't know gas premium, all your stories cannot unchain. Then you lost quite a loss, and then you cannot even push your impulse path. That is a beautiful memory. And now we don't have that, but it's also because the Filecoin Foundation PR team, they really upgraded the Lotus with famous hyperdrive upgrade. The hyperdrive upgrade in May, seems like permanently solves the problem. So now we barely hear people see that we have a gas problem, so we cannot send out the messages. Now we don't have that. So it's like, yeah, so basically like, we really have lots of difficulty time, but luckily is that we are survivors.
Yes, that's the key. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that, yeah, those early days were really something, right? It was really a wild ride. But I'd say that, you know, as a protocol, it's gotten very stable. And yeah, as new features come out with new releases, you know, there's a learning curve and there's some debugging, but, you know, like the basics are in pretty good shape today. What I see now us struggling with is at high scale, like you said, you know, you get 100 deals. I think I've got a 200 on my machine right now coming in. And, you know, the scale starts to matter. It's not just like, wow, I got a deal. It's like I'm getting hundreds of deals. How can I make sure I process them, you know, and they get through successfully? So I think that's a good, a real change in the evolution of the code, where now it's really a scaling problem, right? I mean, there's new features we're worried about, but I think as it matures, being able to deal with scale is, you know, is a good sign. It's a healthy sign, but it's also part of growing pains.
Yes. So right now, the Metaverse is a really trading topic of the moment. What exactly, like our topic for today is like, welcome to the Metaverse. So why we name it Metaverse is that because it has a lot of applications, scenarios, and many ways out. And what's more, it's built on Web3, and it's a holographic internet. So what role do you think IPFS and Filecoin could play in the Metaverse, and what to do to bring such a world closer to us? Like, do you guys have any opinions? Charles, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, like Filecoin and IPFS has already played a lot in this domain. I remember like it's early in March or April. At that time, the NFT just started. Everybody all of a sudden started talking about NFT.
Yeah.
But crypto punk just started. Like most of the people, storage provider don't really understand what is that, include me. We just say like, why all of a sudden, especially is Jeremy, as a famous person name is why. All of a sudden one day he said he didn't spend so much time in fixing bugs, and I'm asking him what you are doing now. He said, I'm creating bridges to converting NFT to Filecoin storage. So we are wondering why you don't just go fix bugs? Why you play with the NFTs? Now then back, so after 6 months, now we see that the OpenSea takes about 90% of the market. Alex Infinity started become hot as well. Now we understand that actually Filecoin and IPFS, they really started in early stage involved in this trend. They didn't miss this trend. They build the NFT dot storage project, which is gives them the early access about the NFT to Filecoin storage. They did lots of hackathons, if you know, like there was Dora hacks, we sponsor them as well. There is other hackathons, NFT hackathons. They're working with Polygon. They working with OpenSea. So in July and August, OpenSea published a blog says that they put their storage on top of IPFS, then back up to Filecoin using the NFT storage API. Recently, they have new APIs to Web3 storage API. So now it's more user friendly now. So we are also working on it as well. We're working with FS3 as another way to provide people another industry friendly experience using the S3 SDK to upload the SDK to FilSwan network, then back out to Filecoin. So in near future, you will have 3 ways to uploading those NFT assets to the Filecoin network. The other part of the Metaverse is about the computing. The earlier before this event, there is a green Filecoin event, which happens about a couple hours ago. Juan was in that event, mentioned about the next step about the green Filecoin project. So you will be able to trade your carbon credits with Filecoin storage provider if you're really mining or storage in eco-friendly places like using hydro, solar, and wind. Plus computing, because a lot of people are thinking about computing like proof of work related blockchain is waste of energy. But when you convert it into the computing, you not only bring a path to the green energy, you also accelerate the migration from the real world to Metaverse. So this is another ecosystem. We saw lots of video projects like a Live Peer token. They are doing the co-mining with the Filecoin. So you can bring the storage, you can doing the video transcoding to different format. And transcoding is one, and the rendering is one of the most important part when you converting different character to 3D avatars. And all those needed is IPFS as a transportation cache layer and Filecoin as a final storage layer to back up all your data. So, I will say that Filecoin never misses the opportunity of Web3 and Metaverse. And I'm so happy that today, the official launch about the green hackathon is going to come since today. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
I agree, Charles. I mean, NFT today, you know, it's a curiosity for many people, but I think NFTs, as an example, they're going to take on much greater significance. Everything from your records, such as whether it's the renewable energy credit we've talked about, you know, for clean energy, or even a title, or you know, the record of your sale or your ownership of a car or a building, right? So I think it really changes the world that we're living in. This metaverse, this digital universe is becoming far greater than, you know, we knew 10, 20, 30 years ago. I see the Web3 world as having many, many aspects to it. Like we're seeing edge computing coming of age, where the network is the computer, right? This is something Scott McNealy said many years ago, where you're not going to a central computer, but the network can actually do the compute. And there'll probably be local storage, but then you need the much greater kind of storage, you know, the type that Filecoin offers, where you're looking at exabytes or yottabytes of storage. And, you know, these edge devices, these mech devices that are nearby don't have that kind of capacity, but they can do caching and they can do other things that allow, like the promise of 5G to come true, where you can have super low latency, super high speed compute, because you're not having to go back across the country to a centralized data center. And so really the whole paradigm changes. You know, they talk about with self-driving cars, you need this, you know, you need that kind of grid that is being developed, where you're not waiting for some central computer to get back to you, and you're constantly in contact as you drive or perhaps fly along your destination. So this is going to have a tremendous impact on all of us. This metaverse is part of our universe today, right? It is part of our reality. People just don't necessarily recognize it. You know, I was selling computers back in the 90s, and I remember people were asking me, like, is this internet going to be a big deal? And I said, oh yeah, it's going to change the whole world. Well, how soon is that going to happen? And I said, in 5 years, you're going to see it start changing. And people didn't believe that. But the reality was, it was there. They just didn't see it. They didn't understand, like in the business world, for instance, so many transactions were being conducted across the internet, but not something you could see like on a website. You know, you'd have, electronic transfer of funds occurring, and, businesses were being altered. But even working for a big business, they didn't necessarily understand that and see that in totality. They just kind of expected more and more efficiency, you know, and at a consumer level, you expect more and more services, whether it's augmented reality, virtual reality, you know, the ability to collaborate so much easier and so much better, right? In an immersive sense, where today, you know, we look at the old devices we had 20 years ago and we kind of laugh at them, right? You know, but that's what the consumer is going to want, and we're going to expect. So that's really here today. I mean, it's around us. It's just people haven't gotten full understanding how pervasive it already is. And IPFS and Filecoin are enablers for that, right? It's certainly in the storage layer, you know, if not moving toward other aspects like compute and network side effects.
Totally agree. So yeah, as you said, people like even don't remember, like realize how important the computer will be, like for today, you know. Right now, like nobody can live like without the computer and the internet. But like 20 years ago, people just don't realize it. So that's a huge change. And I also believe Metaverse in one day in the future is also facing the same situation with the internet for like 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Absolutely. I remember I 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, I bought 2 smartphones. I gave one to my wife. She goes, "What's this? I don't need this." I said, "Just try it for a month. That's all." And after a month, I asked her, I said, "Well, what do you think?" She goes, "I couldn't live without it."
Same. So the efficiency of the mining network is improving, which reduces the profit for the mining racks manufacturers and the mining service providers. So what's your opinions on this tendency? Stuart, you want to go first this time?
Sure. So when we first got into the ecosystem, we looked very closely really at just being a storage provider. That's something that Charles mentioned earlier. And, if you just look at the block rewards and you just look at the pure storage providing, I believe we as a company believe that you cannot exist simply off the block rewards. It's a good catalyst to start you, but the long-term vision has to be something else that funds the costs. And I would say the first thing we look at are sort of add-on services, right? Things that the protocol and the system doesn't do natively. And that's sort of the story of the world today. Companies come along and they layer on services on top of base services that somebody else provides. So, we saw this, let's say, in the cloud world where cloud providers, whether it was Google or Microsoft or Amazon, they might provide storage or email or something, but they didn't provide some of the security services, let's say. They didn't provide two-factor authentication originally. And so there were companies that, were able to jump into that and layer on services like companies like Duo and Okta, were able to provide that service. And even to this day, even though many of these providers provide the basic services, the only way these companies stay profitable, these third-party companies, is they provide something above and beyond the basics, something that really appeals to their customers, because the basic service that they get isn't quite good enough. And I think that's what we're seeing, especially on the large organization side, we're seeing them say, look, what you offer, the basics that come out of Filecoin, I need a little bit more, and I'm willing to pay for that little bit more, because there are some really significant price savings, cost savings with Filecoin. So if I can tack on some value-add services that the customer really appreciates, then that's where my profit's going to come from. It's not going to come from, just the block rewards, the price you charge. I mean, all that's nice and it's good to have, but they're going to want things like SLAs, service level agreements, that the protocol natively can't provide. They're going to want, as a service provider. I know, Charles, you talked about being a service provider now. They're going to want, some of these customers, not all of them, some of these customers are going to want like a security certification, like ISO 27001, or they're going to want an audit control like SOC 2 that validates that you're going to be able to provide the services and the guarantees they expect. In fact, we're seeing that pretty much become table stakes today for a lot of enterprises. If you can't provide those newer high-level services, and the customers, that's what they're willing to pay for above and beyond the basic costs. So I think that's how we get around this problem of diminishing returns for just the basics. You got to be more than a commodity. Yep. Charles.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. And this is something like Filecoin really differentiates itself from other proof of work projects or just a simple staking project, POS. Because look at this, like take a Bitcoin mining as an example, or Ethereum mining. The only way you keep your reward is increase and renew your equipment, right? If you don't renew your equipment, if you don't increase your capital investment You just cannot keep your revenue because their business model is really, or ecosystem model, economic model is really simple, right? Having every few years and it's a zero win like a situation. You lose is my game, right? This is how it works. But in Filecoin, it's like different, right? Recently with the Fire Plus, right? I know that there's lots of Mainnet people and other service providers. Like if you don't give me 10 plus deals, I just refuse to sell. I want to see the sectors. It means nothing for us. We just don't do it. Reason is simple. With the verified deal or real data, it will reduce our 90% of the storage cost. And then it also decreases the difficulty of maintenance. It also saves the storage. Like for us, it's the same, right? Last year at this stage, when the Filecoin Mainnet launches, we have a famous node called North Star, right? Because we're in Canada, so we call it North Star. That's a famous node. It's using for testing. It only have 10 terabyte, just to reach the threshold, be able to generate blocks. Now, so over the year, it's still one single machine, like a single hero. One, it's just one node and then perform storage and everything there. But it's a funny part that after 1 year, we don't add more capability. Imagine how much we get now. It's 100 terabytes. What's happening? It's because of the File Plus program. Because with storage, only storage real data. So one server became 10 server. Well, the entire difficulty increased 10 times, outside increased 10 times. Imagine one day with a data cap allocated, you will be able to increase more capabilities. So the evolving speed of the Filecoin ecosystem business model is faster than the technology innovation in the manufacturer side. It can provide a relatively longer life cycle of equipment. Also, with other ecosystem projects like Livecoin, Livepeer, or like the service we are going to provide, you may be able to using your existing equipment to generate more revenue. So you really have multiple income. We know that there are lots of storage providers optimize their code so good, so they cannot take deals. Then when they see that the Fire Plus project comes, that it's just you can just watching it. You can't do anything because they optimize so good. Their code version is still at the last year Mainnet launch. So this is something like the Filecoin is kind of anti-hash algorithm. It's different from the way of Ethereum does the anti-ASIC. Then they are going to pure POS, then no proof of work. But for us, we still believe that proof of work is something really important to maintain a reasonable cost of the network. Because otherwise, it's just a money control game. It can easily make the larger ones become larger, and the small ones have no opportunity to become larger. And that is somehow the real world, and we don't like it.
Yes. So, yeah. Did anyone want to say something?
No, I just agreeing with Charles. I mean, a number of us have really, when we jumped into the system, it wasn't about how much I can earn from it as far as just mine things. It was how do we adopt the vision and store data? I mean, that was always the vision, is, you know, humanity's most important information. How do we protect it and store it? And so even when we felt the pain of various expenses and losses, we still kept with it to really just try to store data and, you know, make that our mission and it's not just storage providers, right? I mean, we've seen a whole ecosystem develop of data brokers and ingestion layer and, you know, tools for moving data, right? And I think that's what's exciting, and that's what really fuels a lot of us is accomplishing the mission and not, you know, worried about the block awards is the end all of our, you know, our goal here.
Sure. Yeah. So we know that IPFS protocol was launched by Stuart Berman back in 2014, followed by a 12 million in seed round funding in July of the same year. However, it's not till Filecoin Mainnet launch that the IPFS ecology sparked huge market attention. So what did Filecoin do? Do you guys have any want to share?
Yeah, I think maybe I have some more feelings about the money part. Yeah. So like actually, I was very surprising. Filecoin or IPFS is started with so limited of fund in the beginning, and what is really interesting is that what Filecoin, first of all, is what is the relationship between the Filecoin and the IPFS? Lots of people still misunderstood that Filecoin is just IPFS at a incentive layer. It's not really like that. The most common things like Filecoin has with IPFS is IPLD format of data. This is something that's really interesting. IPFS has the IPLD data format. It has the P2P networking. So it provides web services with P2P connection. You can imagine it's like a BitTorrent, but it's also a web server. However, the IPLD format data can reduce lots of traffic when you transfer big files. Based on this, it generates a Filecoin. The reason the Filecoin come up is, even today, we're still testing about one problem is IPFS is a very good product, but it's not a business-ready product. It didn't solve one problem is who is paying for the services? Who is paying for the usage? That's why for quite a long time, the technology itself is keep on evolving. Lots of people working on it, good developers. We still see lots of good products building on top of IPFS, but it cannot avoid to have suffer from the file is not permanent storage, which means that if you today have a movie uploaded to the Filecoin IPFS node, if it's not always used by some people, after a while, the node we are thinking that this is not a really useful file, doesn't worth it to save it, so it's just diminished. But however, if I just have the money and I want to pay for my storage, how about that? That's why Filecoin is really a business-ready solution, even though it still have some defects need to be resolved. But from the business point of view, it's a business-ready protocol. It has the instant layer, it has a storage provider, it has people who pay for the storage. So you have the buyer, you have your seller, you have the tie, you have the chain to connect the buyer and the seller. This is Filecoin blockchain. So that's why the Filecoin product development team is called Proto Lab. They are building the protocols. People following the rules make the deal. That's why on the storage, each storage, we not call it a storage space. We not like a Filecoin call it the volume. What we call is deal and the sector. Those are two important exceptions in Filecoin. That's why with the certainty field, we have built a real market, buyer and seller market. The market existing, then the IPFS service people all of a sudden find it's good to use. Why? Because the IPFS format data is compatible with each layer. It's fully decentralized. Now you don't need to really worry about the data is disappeared because you always have the choice to get it back from Filecoin to IPFS. Because if you really think the data is important to you, you should pay for that. So with two products working together, the ecosystem becomes healthy. You have a place for people to pay. You have a place for people to play. So that is why the Filecoin and IPFS is a good fit together.
Yeah, I mean, IPFS is really what drew me to this ecosystem a few years ago before Filecoin was launched. I was very intrigued by IPFS, of course, its role in decentralization and Web3. And it's like, I guess it's like thinking about, if you have a web server, it might use HTTP as a protocol, how to move data back and forth. But HTTP without a web server is kind of useless, right? It's a great protocol. It's got its limitations, but you need the web server to actually implement and do something useful. And maybe that's the way we should look at IPFS as the enabler of Filecoin, which does something useful. You're trying to actually store the data. You're not so enamored of, okay, so I need a SID and it's a really clever system and it's a unique identifier and it's got some marvelous attributes. But for most people, it's just where can I store my data or how can I get that data back? And the fact that we're using IPFS concepts like SIDs maybe is it's esoteric, so yeah, you wouldn't call them synonymous. They're not synonymous, but Filecoin is built on those concepts of IPFS.
Yeah. So recently there has been a lot of buzz about regulation of the blockchain. So we can briefly summarize the current blockchain policies and regulatory of the major countries in the 3 points. So first of all, increase the technical support and regulatory maturity, and second, just accelerated regulatory process. And the third is some countries are giving support, countries like Japan, Malta, Belarus, and Canada. So as Filecoin gets more popularity, regulations is one of the big concerns. So what has Filecoin done to balance between development and administrations? Do you guys have any suggestions on this?
Well, I think one of the big challenges is Filecoin, unfortunately, gets confused with cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah.
And part of it is the fact that we use terms like miner X, Filecoin, right? So it really sounds to the public and to politicians like something that it isn't. That it's really this utility as opposed to this way to maybe get around taxes or regulations. And so I think it's critical that these governing bodies, first of all, come to understand what it is. I know Marta Belcher testified before the US Congress in terms of, what it really can do for us and how it can help us. But, regulatory agencies being what they are, they want to regulate. And it's a tension because, decentralized computing and blockchain, really the essence of it is it's not under control by somebody, right? Some entity. So they have to find that balance between what it is that those regulatory bodies really want, and what technologies like blockchain can do. You hear about companies that have put out a blockchain that can be managed and controlled by an entity. Well, that's really not the heart of blockchain, where you can trust it, that it can't be modified, it can't be controlled, it can't be altered. by somebody with the right key, that it's, we can trust it and ultimately have a trustless system that you don't have to trust an individual, but you're really trusting the algorithm. So I see, like many things in technology, the governments, the regulatory agencies have to learn to adapt to, the technology that's around them and still accomplish the mission, whether it's to be, safeguard our rights or safeguard, national security. That has to be maintained. But how do you work with them so that they don't lose their mission? And in some cases, it's just a grab for money, right? I mean, how can we tax this? Might be one of the incentives by, maybe the US is talking about different ways to tax things. And obviously, if you can't control the protocol, there's not a simple way to just say, oh, we'll just register everything and tax it all. So I think it's a challenge. I don't think it's insolvable. I think you just have to come up with terms for how to work together on it. And there's some legitimate concerns. I mean, I've worked with compliance and regulations for many, many years now. And once you understand what they're trying to accomplish, then it's like, okay, here's how we can accomplish that, right? The GDPR rules were meant to prevent real harm to humans and people hurting people. So how can you make sure that those controls that are in place, or the compliance measures, still do the protection without breaking the protocol?
Yeah, I agree with you about this. And also we know that there are lots of different regulations. Each country has their own policy, right? Just like a different country, like socialism country, capitalism country, right? Different country has a different taste. So it's really like something like we can not to tell which one is good, which one is not good. But that's the beauty part of the blockchain, right? You always have the choice. If you don't like this country, or this country doesn't like you, you still have a choice to select a country the regulation is good for you. Previously, like so hard with centralized storage company, like for example, you're using AWS, right? One day AWS was told by some countries' government that you are not allowed to do this specific kind of business anymore. Please delete all your data, or you need to submit all the data to our government for review, even though you have some secret you don't want to reveal. You don't have the choice. But for Filecoin, well, you don't need really like to change your code, right? You don't really need like to change anything, and then you don't really need like to submit your new identity. You just change your service provider. Now I tell you this amount of Filecoin, you store it for me. So somehow you follow the regulations. You didn't avoid it, right? You just change another place to store. And it doesn't add your complexity of the implementation. And it doesn't add your cost of registration process. Imagine AWS is banned by this country. Then maybe not just ban this country, is they also ban people whose passport is from this country. We already see something like a Coinbase or some exchanges ban some countries' citizens, right? If you still want to using these exchange services, what you can do? We only have one choice: buy a fake ID, then you are not protected by any law. You are outside of the law and you are not protected. But with Filecoin, you don't have this issue. What are your changes? No changes. You only choose a new service provider and then you are good to go. So at this point, I would like to say Filecoin is regulation friendly, because we don't touch the place who is not friendly to you. You can always choose a friendly place. And also we see that the recent movement of the storage hash, right? Same with blockchain, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin now, America is the #1 hash provider of the world, just because the big movement of the regulations, right? They get the resources they want, which is they're dreaming of. Now it's all come to their door. So this I see that different countries have different policies. We respect them, but storage providers and clients always have their own choices.
Yeah, Charles, I absolutely agree with you. And I mean, that's why earlier I was mentioning about the ability to add attributes to Filecoin, right? So if we had like a country code or a nationality or some other attribute that was relevant to compliance, let's say we use example of the European Union, and we know they have very strict privacy laws. And let's say it's a problem, a compliance problem, if you are in let's say you're in France and you want to store your personal data on my server in the United States, well, there's some GDPR requirements that you have to worry about. But if you want to store your data and you're in France and you're only going to store it on other servers in the European Union, then you're not going to have the compliance problem. So if, again, this doesn't have to be built into the protocol, but it could be an add-on service that says, well, I'm only going to use those clients and those providers that satisfy these requirements, so that they don't break those regulations, right? They stay within compliance. So I think whether it's built into the protocol or whether we add that as a service on top of Filecoin, that's how we can be very compliance friendly.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys for joining us today and giving us our audience so many good opinions, and having a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everybody for your time.
Sorry, what?
I saw that a message.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, Fei Yan.
Hi. Thank you, everyone. I would like to express my appreciation to the speakers and the panelists for the valuable contribution and participation for the Enter to the Metaverse event. The Falcon network has made great achievements in its first year. FilSwan, as one of the Falcon network ecosystem projects, also reached meaningful milestones in this year. We are looking forward to creating new decentralized systems together in coming year. Thank you all again to the knowledgeable speakers who discussed topic and the guests spent time with us. It has been a great pleasure to have you all for this event. I wish you all have a pleasant evening.
Thanks everyone. See you next year.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.